Hi, this is Stephanie Miller from The Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from my show on Political Voices Network.
The amount of broken people in this country who still believe that he's good for the economy is staggering. You know, Dana Bash is perpetuating that on CNN in that interview with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz last week, talking about how, well, people perceive the economy under Donald Trump as being better because something prices were a little bit lower. And so it blows me away that the news media continues to reflect what they think people think.
Yes.
And then people start to think that. People people see that and they start to believe the nonsense rather than the press reporting the truth.
Yeah.
So no wonder Donald Trump gets high marks on the economy, because it's this Ouroboros of disinformation reflecting back and forth between cable news and people who watch cable news.
You are blinding me with your intellect right now. It's the only block is you brought up Kimberly again. I assume only to taunt me and my fantasy. About you and your musket.
I could protect your home by boring people with wonky information about
just
the
like
economy.
that whole rant right there about tariffs. The guy will be like, forget it.
Can I tell you about GDP? And they go running off. No, we're going.
They actually took off on scooters. Did I tell you that? Only in LA, because something so ridiculous. Friggin' scooters.
Electric scooters.
That's like one step above pogo sticks. Like, you actually jumped onto pogo sticks on your front lawn, just bouncing away.
They threw exploding bird seed and then took off on their douchebags.
Dropped an anvil on you.
Yes, they left through the movable hole in the mountain.
Right, yeah.
Okay, this one you quoted, Bob. The transgender thing's an incredible thing. Your kid goes to school, comes home a few days later with an operation. The school decides what's going to happen with your child, and you and many of these childs 15 years later, he actually said that. Many of these childs 15 years later say, what the hell happened? Who did this to me? Oh, my God. And you retweeted Parker Malloy said, it's worth noting in its write-up of this event, the New York Times didn't even mention this unhinged false rant. Yeah. I mean, how much more of a curve can we grade on where the media's like, well, of course that's not true. Donald Trump said it, but they don't say that, right?
Yeah. Right. Well, I was thinking about that when it came to what Dana Bash asked Coach Walz on Thursday again, where she asked him about this allegation. He said, basically, Coach Walz 6 years ago said the word in instead of the word of.
Yes.
And this is a gigantic controversy. But the reason that they're able to do that is because there's like one or two things that maybe are kind of sort of a problem. But when it comes to Donald Trump, if Dana Bash had gone through all of Donald Trump's lies and frauds, she'd be sitting there for 3-4 hours doing the list and asking about the list. And that's where Donald Trump is playing the news media as suckers for making sure they can't do that by doing this gish gallop of nonsense and disinformation. That's his strategy, the flooding the zone strategy, as Steve Bannon calls it. So that allows him to get away with all this stuff. But you know what? 24-hour news cycle, 24-hour cable news networks, and online publications that have no limit in terms of the numbers of articles that they can publish. It's just a matter of buckling down and covering this stuff and putting it into context, reverting back to it, calling back to it when a new thing arises that connects to that thing. And that's all. There's nothing complicated about this. He's a very simple person to cover as far as going through all the lies and nonsense and disinformation. And so they just have to put forth the effort to do it, and they don't want to because, of course, Donald Trump is great for ratings and shares and downloads, et cetera.
There's just no there, Bob. To your point, so people know what you're talking about. First of all, Coach Walz served honorably for 24 years. He never lied or embellished or, tried to imply that a lot of people have done that continually, implied they were in combat. He never did that. He was talking about school shootings and weapons of war. And he said, I carried weapons in war and instead of war. Right. But he just got the wrong word. He's never had any pattern of saying he was in combat. He never claimed he was. It just, but no, you're right. This is the kind of minutia that Harris Walz is going to be judged on. I don't know if you saw this. Latest thing is what did she uses A slightly different accent, they think.
Yeah.
A different speech.
Yeah.
What? So Peter Doocy, and I'm glad Karine Jean-Pierre is dealing with this the same way Harris dealt with this ridiculous. Donald Trump says you're not black. What's your response? It's like the response should be next question. Are you kidding? Are you effing kidding me? Right.
Yeah.
But so
yeah.
Doocy said, since when does the vice president have what sounds like a Southern accent? And Jean-Pierre's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. This goes on back and forth. He says, she said, do you think Americans seriously think this is an important question? And she said, the question is just insane. We're moving on, Peter. We are so moving on. It's just, this is all they've got. Mm-hmm. Is she using a slightly different tone of voice? And this, audience and that audience, which don't we all to some degree, depending on the room we're playing?
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, my mom's from Pittsburgh, so occasionally when she's around her former Pittsburgh friends, she lapses into the Pittsburgh accent. It just, it just happens.
Yeah.
These are things that people do.
Yeah.
There's something in the black community where I think it's called code switching.
Code switching. Gay people do it too.
Yeah.
We talk a certain way when we're amongst our friends, but then when we're in the office, we talk a different way.
Oh, I don't. As you know, I'm always filthy in the Sexy Liberal show, but in the show where Governor Pritzker was there in Chicago, I did ask the cameraman not to photograph my coach.
And also, I say significantly fewer F words while I'm on the air with you than I do any other time of day.
Oh, I know. I've gone bike riding with you. It's a lot of spitting and swearing. Okay.
The only 20 minutes in which I'm F word free of my entire week.
Me too.
The whole rest of the week is just F word, F word, F word. Ask Joe.
Me too. And also, I sometimes don't make it on the air because I forget that I'm on the air.
Oh, great.
I remember that. I heard that. That was fun. I stood up and cheered for that one.
I heard that. You said it like a black woman. I saw what you did there, Bob. What's going on with that accent? I hear that, girl. All right. He just did that.
Racism.
He just did that. Ha ha, Bob Seska. You know what's essential? It's the Bob Seska Show on the Sexy Liberal Podcast Network.
I believe so.
I listen to it every day. I really do. I love you so much. Mwah.
I love you too, Stephanie. Stay safe. Seriously.
All right. Goodbye. My love to Kimberly.
Oh, my God.
Goodness.
Just kidding. She knows I love her too. There it is, my first drink of the day, Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic. Many of you know my story. I stopped drinking wine for 3 years during COVID, during the lockdown as part of a health reset. Now I drink wine in moderation, but this is an amazing new product. I've always believed in probiotics. And Z-Biotics, check this out. You drink just one of these. It's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. I am using this and I feel great in the morning. I don't have to worry if I have an extra glass of wine, I still feel great in the morning. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. I've always had acid reflux problems. It is this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Z-Biotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. All I know is it works. It is Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic. Go to zbiotics.com/politicalvoices or scan the QR code on the screen right now.